Okay, this week's off-site lab or web lab. We're going to go through Chapter 11 on constructing contours, and I'll be uploading a SCR file, which is a script file that has some survey data in it. The actual assignment, after you read through the chapter on contours and some of the information in the chapter, starts on page 487. We already have the script file, as I said, so we don't need to create one. It's just basically a text file. And these are survey units that are taken out in the field. So basically, we're going to launch AutoCAD. Don't worry about setting up a portrait file. We're going to use our standard template. We're going to create 3 layers. This is on page 487, 11.5.2, create the layers. So we're going to go to our layer properties. Maybe, come on, open up. There we go. And we'll right click and create a new layer. And this one's going to be called data. Oops, help if I rename it here. And we're going to create another new layer. This one is going to be called contour. C-O-N-T-O-U-R. And then another new layer, and this one will be called label. Keep it pretty simple this week. Now, from the Home tab, which is up here, we're in Home. We're going to go to our Utilities, which is right here. And we're going to go to Point Style. We're going to change our point style to a circle. And we are going to set the point style size to 0.5. See how that works. Set the size to absolute. And click OK. Make data the current level. And let's just go check. Let me turn data on. Close this out. I'm going to go just check and see what my drawing utilities are for units. Still decimal. I think I want to be in engineering units. That should be the case. It may change it when I bring in the data files anyway, but let's just make sure. And that looks fine, and we'll go to 1 decimal place on the angle. Not that we need it for this one, but we'll go ahead and set that. And we'll just check our direction, make sure it still says east is good, and hit OK. Okay, so now we're in our data level, and we're going to read the script file into this drawing. So the command is script. Hit enter, and we're going to go find our script file. Now you can upload this, make sure you know where you're putting it. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I've put mine, I think it's right. Remember where I put it? No. I know I've got it here, so there it is, Chapter 11 script file, and we're just going to say open. And then what we see are all these little colored, and what these are survey data points, and they've made it easy, so they've colorized these and given you elevations for each of these objects. So if you look at the contours, you'll actually see on page 489 how these contours need to look. So we're going to start. You can see they're all listed up here, and we're going to go by color. I'll just start down here in the bottom. You can see this green one, and we're going to select our contour level, and let's make it red. Actually, let's go to our level properties, and they don't really give us a color, but we're going to go with something that shows up good. So let's just click here and say I want that to be, let's go with green to start with, and then we can say by layer. And let's check our labels. We'll make those blue like our dimensions. Okay, so contours are active level, and we're going to come down here, we're going to select our polyline, and make sure that our snaps are on. Polyline. Center, I got endpoint, midpoint, center, intersection, perpendicular, and tangent. Okay. Now it says if you do make a mistake and create the polylines in multiple line segments, you can use your join command to join those back together. A little concerned. Let's just, there it is. So I'm going to change this to, let's just put it on center point and see if this helps. Alright, I got a polar tracking, object snapping. Put these back where it was. Alright. O snap is off. Now O snap is on. Okay, I figured out what my problem was. Down here in our O snaps, you need to make sure your node is turned on, and that will find it because these are points in a file, so we want to make sure a node is turned on. So make sure that that happens. They don't say it in the book, so I had to kind of get out and figure it. So we'll start with this green line now with our polyline by layer. I'm just going to let it snap. You can see how it finds that point and just create a polyline that goes all the way down. Hit escape and enter, and then we find another polyline. We're just following our colors. You'll notice these all have the same elevation. Hit enter again. All you're doing is just tracing these lines point to point. So there's 945. If you have a question, you can kind of look back at the book, but you'll see how these, you can't cross a contour line. They have to be separated. So these are all elevations in 1 foot increments, actually 5 foot increments, pardon me. Doesn't matter whether you go right to left or left to right. And having the colors makes it easy to figure this out, otherwise you'd be spending a lot of time. So they made it relatively easy to work with these. And I'll start on this side and go right to left. All we're doing is just following the dots. You've all done this in grade school, you know. Connect the dots. These indicate elevations in terrain. Should be a fairly easy one. Oops, 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 oops. Screwed up already. There we go. So if you make a mistake, you can come back and readjust these. I just went a little colorblind there for a second. Whoops. Don't hit the escape key too quick. There. Back on track. So I get for hurrying. Ways to go here. So again, if you get stuck, you can look in the book and see how these contour lines fit in here. Yes. Now this one's a little tricky in that it actually comes around this way, loops back. Whoops. Try it again. And that's orange. So this could have come off a total station, or it could have come just off some surveyor's notes where they went out and took elevations on a plot of land. I'm getting cocky now, so I can go from left to right and then right to left. And these are kind of tight here, so we'll, because they're nodes, that's the only thing it'll snap to is that center point. So if you once you see that little green X show up, you know it's going to go right into the, it'll force it to go to that point when you're in AccuSnap. So you just need to be near it. Elevation 1000. So if you think this is tedious, think of the poor surveyor that sat out in the woods and it's freezing cold and actually had to get these numbers. So, and 1005. These are tough numbers because you got 1010 that looks an awful lot like it in color. So hopefully your colors look good on your screen so you can distinguish. Yeah, we're in 1010. Oops. I'm going to leave that there. I got to go fix it. So you make a mistake, you see that this one's not in the center, just click it and you should be able to come right down to there and fix it. All right, getting to the top here. You can see 1010 picks up over here, so this would indicate there's some type of maybe a valley in between here. This one actually is going to connect right together, so this would be a ridge. I'll just hit C to close it. And C again. And we got 3 more contours. These don't have to be done in any particular order. It just needs to make sure that C. All right, last one. Okay, there's our contour map. So the next thing we're going to do, now that we have that in place, is we're going to turn off our data points. So we'll just come up here, we can drop this down, see where it says data, we'll just freeze that. And then we're still in our contour level. What we're going to do is select all of those, right click, and you're going to go to I know they're all polylines. Let me just select one. Here we go, Polyline and Curve Fit. I should be able to do that to all of those. Let me just select 3. Well, I can do it in the properties. No. Maybe you have to do each one individually. Polyline, Curve Fit. So each time you do this, go to Polyline, Curve Fit. So now it's taking all those points and it's making curves out of them. Gives it a nice smooth. I should be able to do these. Yeah, I guess we have to do each one separately, so just take your time. Polyline, Curve Fit. Should only take a minute. It doesn't let you do them as groups, so. What you'll notice when I turn these back on is that the points are still going to go through the lines, but they just made nice flowing curves to, I think that one I did. Almost there. There we go. So we're going to add some text to these labels, and we're going to do it on the see if we need to do just the major lines. So 955 would be we'll put a north arrow on here eventually. But first, let me see. I'm going to turn my labels data back on. Just unfreeze it. And we can see that 955, we want to make this a major contour where it says 955 here. So we're going to put labels on here. We're going to go to our text size. They don't really show us what size text on that 955. So I want to put a piece of text right here. So we'll go to annotation. We've got our old text. Let me just take a quick measurement. Let's see. 0.25 inches is what it says. We'll call it let's see, 0.4. So I'm going to go to my annotation text. We're going to right click and create a new one. It's going to be contour. Say OK. We want 0.25 inches. See what this does. Set current. Yes. Close. And we want to set this on as multiline text. Just try it. Type in 955. Which looks good. We're going to select this, go to Properties, and just like we did on the other one, if we slide this down, I'm going to background is yes, use background mask, use background color, say OK, and I want to change the level of this. The layer is going to be label, and it'll be in that blue color. We can close this out, and now we can take this, move it down into the opening, and we can rotate it so it follows the line, and then we can move it into place. Cool. Let's turn off our data for a second. Just freeze those data points. So now I just want to take this 955 and I want to change this line to a darker line style. So we'll make that red. And then we'll just take this, type CO for copy. And then we can just place this at intervals. So I'm just putting it around here without, just kind of spacing it, and then we can rotate these. Move them into place. Should have center justified those so it makes it easier to move them around, but just takes a minute. Rotate them so they're kind of in line with the line, and then just kind of move them into place. Enter, and just move it. So there's our first contour. The next one is 980. So if I turn on my data again, and there's 980 right here. So it's this one. I'll just take this text, select that text, and move it or copy it to the 980 line right here. Rotate it. We can edit it so it says 980 instead of 955. And now what we'll do, before we do that, let's right click and go to properties, and we'll change this to middle center justification to make it easier to work with. We'll type CO for copy, and we'll just place it at intervals around here. Like that. Turn off our data by just freezing it. And we'll just rotate. That makes it easier. Rotate. Whoops, come on. There we go. And this one needs to rotate. This one needs to move first, and then rotate. And that looks pretty good. Change our color of this line to red. Alright, let's go look at our 11 by 17 title block. I'm going to put in a viewport now. we've done in the past. There's our contour map. We'll go back to, not sure what the scale is on this. Mm-hmm. 1 to 10. It's 1 to 5. Too much. 1 to 8. That should work. We'll put it in at 1 to 8 for this exercise. Excuse me. Now let's go find a north arrow. We could draw one. We don't really have one from another drawing. So if I go to my Internet Explorer, my Chrome, I'm just going to type in north arrow. And we'll go to images. And let's see. I like this one. See if I can just do a copy image. Back to Autocad, right click, file. I was just wondering if I could paste it. Paste. Ah, look at that. I know, cheating, cheating, cheating. Try to bring it down to a scale that works good. Now if we go back to our title block, there it is. I want to take this in the model, and I'm going to change my line weight on the outside to white. See if that works. There we go. That makes that border disappear. Messed up my scale again. There we go. And we'll go to paper. I'm going to double click. Our project will be contour exercise. And that fits. Location, I'll call it Orno. Scale 1 to 8. Check by EF for Eric. Sheet number CO1, call it CO2. And our date will be 2-21-15. Hit OK. And everything else looks good. Do a right click. Go to our page setup manager. Just click modify. I just want to see. There's my pen table, DWG. Everything else looks good. I want to preview it. And you can see my line weights are in good shape here. And close this out. Hit OK. Close. And now we're going to right click and say plot. And preview again just to make sure. We're going to hit our plot tool. And we're going to put this in our directory for, I got a bunch of these on my desktop, so I'm going to put this in my CIE 101 and text assignment PDFs. We're going to call it C_Junkins_contours. Hit save. And there's my file, which looks awfully good. And we'll zoom in on it just to take a look at our contour lines. Perfect. Not a very complicated drawing. And what you'll do is submit this as your homework assignment for contours, which will be listed in the black board site. So that is it for this off lab assignment that you're going to do this week. You can follow it in the book on page 4, starting on page 486. And I'll have the script file loaded up so that you can grab that when you need it. So again, this is the assignment, pretty simple. Our in-lab assignment is actually going to start on page, we're going to do a floodplain, and it starts on page 498 and 499, and that is watershed delineation using Autocad. I believe we're going to set up a floodplain. Yep. And actually, I think maybe. No, that'll work. We'll do the floodplain, or not the floodplain, but the watershed area for this whole map. So it should be fairly simple. We're going to give you the contour map to start with, and that'll be it. And then we'll have our spring break. So I'll finish this one up and get back to you with another video on the other one. Hopefully by the end, but we'll see how the weather turns out.